What's up, everybody?
Was
How's it going? We are the 8-bit Upstarts. My name is Nate,
Tommy.
and let's kick off with some sad news.
hmm Yeah, we technically missed last week. I know that's what
Yeah,
you
we
were getting
did.
at.
Yeah, so this we
We yeah,
technical
we tried a new
difficulties.
recording method. Didn't quite work out the way we hoped.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna end up switching to that eventually, but for
potential's there.
now, yeah,
Potential
we'll
is
work on
there.
that.
It's all right. Even high quality productions like ours have to take a hit every now and then.
Yeah, it's got kinks you got to work out. It's just something you got to do when you're being super professional.
Yep, as we are
Anyway,
wont to do. Anyway, so like I said, we got some sad news today. We've learned of the passing of an icon. E3 is officially
E3,
dead.
DED, dead.
DEDDD dead.
Yeah, so
D3.
E3.
3Ds.
Yeah.
Get it. Okay. So yeah. For those of you that don't know E3, I mean, I'm assuming if you're a gamer, you kind of have some idea what E3 was. Is one of the largest gaming expos in the industry.
In the
Um,
United States.
in the United States, I should say. Yeah. I can't speak for other countries, but as it's sad, right? Like
hmm
I mean, that was like a big thing. I mean, I know that it hasn't actually been. They didn't have it last year as well. I think pretty much COVID really put a nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just like every year is like E3 came around, and you're just like, I can't wait to see all these new trailers, all these new
hmm
gameplay videos that these publishers are going to be releasing. And so it's a little sad that we're not going to have that one big place for them all to release together. So, um, yeah, what do you think, Tommy?
Yeah, I mean, so just kind of E3 being in case for anyone who's not aware, the Electronic Entertainment Expo. And I think it kind of evolved from just electronic stuff to being like video games and everything that encompasses it. But it started in 95. So like
Okay.
for me, that's pretty much been my entire life. It looks like they did have it somewhat in 21. Um, I think that was mostly like virtual,
Hmm.
but and I know I had read like the years kind of leading up to COVID had been like, had a lot of like not criticism, but it just kind of like been slowly kind of going away. But yeah,
Hmm.
like you said, E3 was always the time when you had the big three companies, and then also your Bethesdas, your Activisions, all of those releasing trailers for new things. And in addition, if we're getting close to a new console, that's normally when you would start to hear about like the new console and see like the new technology that they're going to debut and all that kind of stuff. And it was always fun, not living in California where it always was every year in LA. You and I have never been. I don't think it was ever a question that we would ever make it to one because they don't give tickets to everyone, and it's in LA.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing is because, people say that, part of the reason that, well, I won't say part of the reason, but it was just never something that was like fully open to the public.
Right.
It was mostly for kind of
The industry.
industry insiders, right?
hmm
So who knows if they had made it available available to the public, would it still be around? Who knows? I mean, it's
Yeah.
obviously a little late to try that out.
Right. I
Uh,
mean, they had been like letting certain number of public passes be available,
mhm.
but yeah, I mean, it's not many. Like you're talking like, I mean, looking at just some of the numbers, it was like the most they ever had was like 63,000, 52,000 people in one year, 60 some odd thousand. So it's like, and then of that, when they started letting the public in, it was like 20,000 people or whatever. So
Mhm.
like, you know, the chances of you getting one are pretty slim. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, it was always, you knew that when that time was coming, you're like, oh, okay, we're going to get some trailers. Like E3's here. We're about to see some cool stuff from like Bethesda. We're about to see some, new hardware coming out from Sony or whatever. And it was just like always so cool as a consumer to know that even though I'm not there, I'm going to be able to go on YouTube or, whatever pre-YouTube, like commercials are going to start coming out, and like we're going to get to see these things where now like it does sort of make sense that, now they just release straight to YouTube and there's not really like a need for something like an E3, but an E3, and maybe it's just like nostalgia. It's just like that kind of thing of everything in this industry can get together and release things at the same time, and you can be excited about all these things at the same time and be excited with other people around you. So it is a little sad.
I think more for me, like I know that a lot of the big three, they kind of do their own events now. I mean, we're not losing out on these trailers or anything. It's not like they're going anywhere, but we're just not getting them all at once, really like we used to. But I think it's just more for me, like it's sad in that it's just like a end of an era kind of deal. It's just I grew up with E3, waiting to see what the big news was going to be. And I even remember times when I was like watching like I'd have like live streams going on the side, while
on
I
G4.
work.
They were always G4? A big one that covered it. Like I just thought of that as you were talking. Yeah,
it's
always have that on.
Like it was just a nice time to be excited to be a gamer. And now we don't really get that. We can't really do that in like one location, one time of the year, So, but it is what it is. I get it. And, it's not easy putting conventions like that together.
Yeah. And conventions aren't, especially more recently, if you don't have that draw and those people coming, it's hard to make money from what I've read from like other people who've thrown events like that. You need a lot, you need to charge a lot kind of, and you need like everyone to show up that you can possibly fit for you to like break even to some degree. So I get it. But yeah, end of an era, pretty wild. I mean, it is weird. It's like one of those weird end of an eras because they're like officially canceling it, but then like you said, since COVID, they haven't really had it. They had it like I said in 2021, mostly virtual. So it hasn't really existed for like 3 years, but it's still like, oh man, E3 is dead.
Yeah, and I guess my I wonder is like, what was virtually like that bad? Like, was it that difficult and that like unprofitable to try to? Well, I guess you can't force the publishers to come,
right.
get their show their stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's what would have been happening was publishers were dropping out. Like, we're not going to be there. We're not going to do anything.
Yeah, we can do it on our own time at our own expense, and do how we want to do it. So I get, which I get. I mean, you can only do it. You can only do what the publishers want. So
yeah,
that's just times the times are
changing. We're not old. We are not old. Okay.
No, it's the children that are old.
It's the children. It's the children who are wrong.
So I guess going from there, I guess we could say, speaking of trailers, now I started playing WoW back in college. WoW as in World of Warcraft, the online MMO RPG
sensation.
Yes, and I sank so many hours into that game. I will say that one of my favorite things about playing WoW is that they have some really cool trailers for their expansions. And this most recent one for the War Within expansion is no different. It was, for those of you who haven't seen it, we'll try to post a link in our description or comment section. But definitely check it out because it's very cool. It's very well done. Tommy, I'm assuming you've watched it, right?
No. forgot. Yeah, I've seen
Oh.
stills. No, I know. Because like I started playing WoW when I was in high school. It was uh a year after I think it released, so vanilla. And then
Hmm.
I played all the way pretty consistently. WoW, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King was easily my favorite expansion and era of WoW was Wrath.
Hmm.
And then I played a decent amount of Cataclysm, and then that was where I like kind of stopped. But
Okay, I did not make it to Cataclysm.
yeah. So I mean, but going back to what you said, I wanted to touch on this first about the trailers that they put out. Even going back to like Warcraft 3, like the trail,
Hmm.
like the cinematics in that game and like in all of their games have always been like impressive, like
Hmm.
for the especially for the time that they came out. And I've seen bits and pieces of the War Within trailer. I think the only reason I haven't fully watched it yet um, is because I haven't been super into WoW since Cataclysm. I've come back in like, when they would release like Mists of Pandaria or Battle for Azeroth, they'd be like, "Hey, return, you can play free for like 7 days and you'll get every expansion except for the one that's like currently out." And I would
Hmm.
try it and it was just like, this isn't again, I'm not old, but like this isn't the WoW that I'm used to. And
Yeah.
so it was just I played Classic 2 when that came out. I played that a pretty decent amount, and that was fun. It was just more it was less that it wasn't as fun and more that I didn't have that community that I had played with it when it first started, and that was kind of
Hmm.
what led me to drop off of that. But I think like I've just been so out of WoW that I saw it released and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I saw there's some pretty cool like Easter eggs, not Easter eggs, but like it's like alluding to like what's the Alduin
Oh, Anduin.
Anduin like might be evil, like he might be like turning evil is like
Hmm.
kind of the sentiment I got from like the community like from this trailer. Like that might be like the plot point in the War Within. And so I was like, that's kind of cool
Hmm.
because Arthas and his whole storyline is just it's one of the coolest things in video games. Like I love that whole storyline. And it seems like they might be trying to go back to something similar, not the same thing, hopefully, but like,
Hmm.
the same kind of idea. But yeah, I haven't watched it, but I
Okay.
need
Yes, you
to.
do need to. It's very uh poignant. Is that the word?
Yeah, poignant.
Poignant. Thank you. Um,
Poignant.
poignant. You got to say it how you spell it.
Yeah, English.
English is as good as English.
Mm.
But yeah, it is very cool. And it kind of drops with like a bomb too at the end of it. So yeah, definitely, I highly recommend you check it out. Even if you don't play WoW, just check it
Hmm.
out because they just make really good trailers.
Yeah.
Um, and I always look forward to it, even though I haven't played WoW in forever. I still always find myself going back, and every once in a while I'll watch. I'll even like I've watched not too long ago. I just rewatched the reveal trailer for WoW, the original WoW.
Oh,
Like
really?
yeah, for just because it just takes me back. I remember
Yeah.
the excitement I had when that happened or when that came out, and it's just nice to go back and relive those. But I'm not old.
But you're
I'm
not
not
old.
old.
We're not
Not
old.
old.
I was gonna say I think World of Warcraft and like Warcraft because it's all the same game. Like
Hmm.
the lore that they've built in that is one of the best like in all video games in my opinion. Like Elder Scrolls is like also up there because that spans so many games, but just like
Hmm.
I if like kind of like you, like I don't go back to necessarily watch like the trailers, but I'll go through like WoW Wiki and I'll read up on
Hmm.
Illidan or whatever, just because it's like the there's so much lore now that like it's super cool to read a backstory of a character and how they got to where they're at now, and then
Hmm.
like all that stuff. It's so much fun to go and see the world that they've developed, even if I don't play it anymore.
Right. Yeah. No. And that takes a lot of work to like to build that lore up over decades, really.
To build that lore and not have to retcon a whole lot of it. I don't think, I'm not for sure on that. I don't know Warcraft lore like the back of my hand, but it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of times that I've ever read it and been like, wait, that doesn't make
Uh-huh.
sense. But I know there's a lot of time travel too, which just kind of screws with the lore anyway, because then you can kind of do whatever you
Oh,
want.
really?
What do you mean? There's only been one of those that's
There's
ever
only one
released.
Mortal Kombat. I mean that was an interesting idea, a direction that they went.
Hmm.
Um, I have my own opinions about the new Mortal Kombat game, which but I need to play it some more before I can like
Hmm.
really fully attest to how I feel about it.
Hmm.
But we'll talk about that another time. I
Yeah, once
do.
you've sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
once I've had like I want to give it a fair shake.
Yeah.
I've only got like maybe 10 to 12 hours
Mm,
into it probably right now, and that's not a lot for a fighting game.
yeah.
To like really get a deep dive, but yeah, it's
Hmm.
I'll get
Yeah. We'll put a
there.
pin in that. We'll come back to
Yeah,
that
put a
later.
pin in that. Yeah. But but this is something moving on, something that you and I both have really wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, the rise and fall of the day before.
Yeah. This this was the wildest 4 days um for that game and that company. I think what's kind of interesting from what I've seen in other videos, because I never even got a chance to play it, um, because it only lasted 4 days and it was never actually released. It was always as early access. So there
Hmm.
wasn't ever, it wasn't actually, it was technically released, but it wasn't like, hey, the game is done. But from what I'd seen online, like this was like at one point it was the most wishlisted game in Steam or on Steam, and it was like super hyped. And I don't ever really remember hearing about it until maybe a couple weeks ago when people started to talk about it in the sense of like, I think this might be a scam. Like there was
Hmm.
rumblings of it before it released, like weeks and months leading up to the release, but like I never really heard about it prior to kind of that. But I guess it
Hmm.
had been like they released like some trailer or something, like a couple of them a while ago to drum up a lot of excitement, and I guess they really did that successfully, but then did not at all capitalize on that or
Yeah.
execute, I should say.
Yeah, I'm a little late to the like catching up on it. Like I've
Hmm.
heard about it like leading up to the release, just because I've heard like say it was like, oh, this game is hugely wishlisted. Um, and like you said, that all the stuff that they were releasing was like, okay, if this is what we're getting, this is pretty cool.
Hmm.
But it sounds like, or like it's pretty cool, but if you could actually pull it off, which seems doubtful, then you know but in the end it ended up literally being that it was just they couldn't do it, or they didn't do it,
Hmm.
and what they released is completely different than what they were advertising, what people were expecting,
Yeah.
and what just basically the entire concept of the game is like
Yeah.
almost changed from what they were like putting out there. So it's crazy, and then the fallout from that has been insane.
Yeah. The game. So the studio is called Fantastic Studio, which is just icing on the cake. Um, but the game comes out on the 7th, I think, of this month of December of 2023, and then on the 11th, so Monday, December 11th, 2023, Fantastic Studios shut down, and the game is no longer available to buy. They their website, social media are gone. They released a statement that was like, we're sorry we didn't capitalize, blah blah blah. And they've been a company since like 2018, I think, or 2016. I can't remember where the first, because they like had this whole "we're sorry" and then it had their resume, which was just like studio founded, released a couple games, and then 2023, they're
Mhm.
gone. Um, there are a bunch. You can go and find bigger, um, like YouTubers that were able to play the game in the 4 days that it was out. Like Moist Critical Charlie, big one of the biggest YouTubers right now. He played it, and the game is so awful. It's like the assets are all purchased from like the Unity asset store or whatever they made the game in. It's supposed to
Mhm.
be like zombies. I think in the entire 15-minute video of him playing it, I saw 3 zombies, and
Wow.
like it was super buggy. It took him like I know he cuts his videos because he's from when he streamed on Twitch, but I think it took him like 20 minutes to get into a server to play, and it was like a European server because you couldn't get into any of the American servers. It was
Wow.
just like it was so bad.
That's
And yeah,
that's insane.
it yeah,
I'm seeing
it's
a lot of they took the money and ran
yeah, they did just release something that they're working with. They said they're working with Steam to get people their refunds. So like I really hope that they're able to do that and everyone who purchased the game is able to get a refund, because that
Mhm.
would be like not great if they literally took the money and run.
Yeah. Um and it's actually funny. I just saw this that Steam is currently running a uh the day after sale.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, of like zombie survival game sale. So I wonder if they had synced that with the release of the day before, but now that day before just completely bombed, they have to kind of still run with it.
Huh. Oh, I'm not seeing that on my Steam.
Oh,
But maybe that was literally like on the 8th, like the day after it
oh
came out
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah. This was posted
Oh, gotcha.
yesterday,
That
so it might have only
honestly,
been.
that would have been. I mean, that's smart marketing for Valve to do for sure. It would have
Mhm.
been even funnier if they did it again yesterday, like after everything shut down. Oh, that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, well, they can only do so much, I guess. But I don't think how anyone could Well, I mean, I guess you could kind of foresee it. Like everybody was skeptical leading up to it, but everyone was kind of like optimistically hopeful.
Yeah, yeah. There. I think it was another thing that Moist Critical said in his video, where he said he started to feel like this might be kind of a scam. It was like the day or two before the game dropped, the company released a thing that was like, for everyone who's about to play our game, thank you for buying it. There was all these bullet points. One of the bullet points was like, for everyone who didn't believe in us, like, we are not a scam. This is not a scam. And it's like, why would a company come out and say that this game isn't a scam if it's not a scam? You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
he was like talking about how like that was the first thing where I read. I was like, this is not gonna go well. And yeah, because like no other game company, even other ones that do early access, have ever been like, we promise this isn't a scam. Like they just go, here's our game, and if it sucks, everyone just lets them know it sucks. Like that, it smells pretty fishy. Is
Hmm.
kind of how this is going. But yeah, I've never seen a studio just like shut down
Yeah, exactly. Just like that.
like that.
That's crazy. It's I don't know. It's just, and is it weird that I feel like this could be something that happens more often now? The way game studios pop up and then seem like they just disappear. Like
I
you
mean,
know,
if you think about it, with like the rise of Kong,
yeah,
uh,
yes, thank you. That was like I could have sworn we talked about one, and I
mhm,
was like, yeah, like just these games, like they're just
their
put
quantity
something
over
out and then
quality.
just
Yeah.
and then it's just they're just gone.
I don't know for sure if that company that did Rise of Kong is like gone now, but I know that they were like one that it was quantity over quality. It was like get something out, make some money to churn something out and make some money, not trying to make anything good.
Mm-hmm.
I think what was crazy about that one, I don't know that we would have heard about that one if that one didn't license a pretty popular IP. Like if
Right.
they had released that game and it was not tied to Kong at all, no one probably, it would have been like, that's another one of those crappy games released by a no-name company kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this goes back to like how I'm sure there are other successes of the Steam early access in like early access situations like Baldur's Gate, but like this is just another one of those that really does not, like, it really just showcases how awful it is to pre-order games, like
Mm-hmm.
why you shouldn't pre-order. um and I speak as someone who has pre-ordered games before. um I like to think, and I don't really know that this is probably not like a hot take, but it's probably still a dumb take. I'm like selective in what I pre-order. Like I
Mm-hmm.
pre-ordered Tears of the Kingdom because, and I know we've talked about this, but like Zelda's not going to let me down, and
Right.
until it does. But until
Until it
then,
does.
it's not going to let me down. Baldur's Gate was a chance I took. That one worked out. There have been games that I pre-ordered that have turned out to be not great, but anymore I am more cautious on if I pre-order or not. Um, because if the game's good enough, eventually it will go on sale and be cheaper than it is when it releases anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
you can normally wait. So yeah,
No.
it's crazy situation. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I don't know. It's on the same boat. It's just kind of just like mind-boggling that you think you can get away with it. Is it like something like do they think they can get away with it?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's like I know it's like a scam or it seems like a scam, but there's also this part of me that's like I hope that they really didn't. Like I have this like naivety that's like no, they really did try, right? Like they
Hmm.
this wasn't a scam. But yeah, like did you really think you were going to get away with it? That is a really good point.
Yeah, I like it seems like to me for the most part, like in situations like this, it's like they what got in over their head, and then
Mm,
this, it's like we say scam, and I don't think they fully like I'm not saying that they intended to, like
yeah.
from the very beginning. I'm thinking they really just got like they maybe there was just something like they thought that they could try to drum up more interest by saying it's something a little different than what it is, and then by that point you're, like I said, you're in so far over your head that you kind of just have to keep rolling with it,
Hmm.
then of course it releases and you're just like, I guess this is the natural result of what would happen, like if you basically bait and switch everybody,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I
Unintentionally to
mean,
a degree. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
but it's like I doubt there was any like ill intent, like malicious intent,
Hmm.
but I don't know. At some point, you kind of just need to like face reality and say, hey, this game should not be released.
Yeah.
We even see that in movies nowadays. Like
Uh-huh.
this is like we have like big budget blockbusters, well, blockbusters per se, um, being just completely scrapped and just using
Yeah.
as tax write-offs. Like there was the Batgirl movie that was supposed to be released. That it basically was so bad that they
Oh
just said like, okay, we're
yeah.
just not going to release this movie even though it's pretty much done. Um, and
Hmm.
it's like I feel like that's just something I've never seen before, and I'm wondering if that kind of will make its way into the, well, I mean, I guess it kind of already has in the
Yeah.
video game industry. So it's just, I don't know. It's just, but still, when it happens, this thing, when something like this happens, it's still very jarring.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, why did this happen and how can we prevent this from happening again?
Hmm.
But no one, it's like even if you come up with like, or we could come up with, you know, answers to how to not have this happen again, but until someone actually like takes action on those, until there's like a financial, it's really like, it always comes down to money, right? Until there's
Mm-hmm.
financial incentive to not do this, they will keep doing it. And like you
Mm-hmm.
said, whether or not it's intentional, the play, it's set up to allow this to happen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing in place to stop allowing this to happen right now.
Right.
So that's what's kind of frustrating. And I don't know. I think we could go on a whole tangent about that, which we've done a couple times on this podcast, and
Yeah,
I feel like we don't want to keep beating that dead horse.
Yes. But yeah. So. But all in all, like, just to wrap it up, it's just crazy. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just
it's one of those things where you're like, wow, that was insane. I hope we never see that again.
Yeah, or at least I hope it's not like I'm not really keen on zombie survival games, so this didn't really impact me.
Right.
I'm really on the outside looking in on this one,
Mm-hmm.
so I feel awful for anybody that actually did buy it and that so far has not been able to get a refund.
Right.
But hopefully they
For
do.
sure.
But it's like I hope I don't fall for something similar.
Well,
I
it's
know what
not
you're
the
gonna
same.
say. I know what you're gonna say, but it's a little bit. But hey,
it's different enough, but it's got
well,
similarities.
I think the difference is, well, of course, we're talking about Starfield.
Talking about Starfield.
Is that Starfield has the backing to make it right.
Yes.
It's not a dead game. It's a disappointing game, maybe. And I can't even really say that I'm disappointed in the game to an extent. I mean, I have a couple hundred hours into it, so it's like, obviously I got some enjoyment out of it. Now, is it what I was expecting? Not quite. Is it probably less? It's not as good as what you would expect from a Bethesda title. Now, I think there's some good bones in it. I think there's some things that they can improve on that they are able to. And I think, Tommy, we were talking a little bit about just before we started that they released some things that they're alluding to updates coming for Starfield. I think you have a little bit more knowledge on that than I do. I haven't had a chance to read that article yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's from, so they posted on Reddit the other day about a bunch of new things that they're going to try, and like a big patch that's basically coming in Q1 of next year, early next year. A lot of it, they're going to add like FSR3 and Intel's super sampling and fix. There's been a lot of quest bugs, and there is one kind of hilarious bug. I mean, for some people it's game breaking, so for sure it sucks. But there's a bug where like asteroids and other objects are like stuck to you in a way, like
I've
not
seen
on you,
that one,
but like they always travel with you. You have a pet rock, and for some people it is for sure game breaking because it doesn't allow you to do. I don't know what it doesn't allow you to do, but like I could see that being a problem. The other thing is they alluded to, this is all they said, was they have, quote, all new ways of traveling coming in this like big update, and like it also addresses like how they're going to address updates going forward and stuff like that. So I don't know what all new ways of traveling means. To me, I hope it's like a Land Rover, because that's my
land vehicles
biggest
would be
problem.
awesome.
Yes.
Maybe even more ship parts.
Yeah.
Maybe fast, like more fast travel options. But yeah, that'd be awesome if they have like Land Rovers or like speeders or something to alleviate the because it's like, what it's like, what's the point of having these huge, albeit procedurally generated worlds if it takes so long to explore them. And it's a lot, and like one of the bigger complaints is that these worlds are empty, and rightfully so. It's space, but if you're gonna make your environment that sparse, that less, that's so little populated, you kind of want to get around it a little bit quicker. you know so
like especially when you land, and you can only land like so far from like these landmarks.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you have like 900 kilometers and you can only run or jetpack. And you can only
Mm-hmm.
run so long because then your CO2 comes out or, starts getting too
Right.
high. So it's like there needs to be something there. Sort of in the same vein, there's a YouTube video that I sent you to that we'll post in the description from Nakey Jakey. I'd never seen this guy's videos before, but honestly, this is a super interesting video, and I think he's done this with like a couple other game companies. But the title of the video is Bethesda's game design was outdated a decade ago, and
Mm-hmm.
it really focuses on like his issue. It's not like the problems with Starfield because it's all subjective, but it's like his and some of our issues with the game too. Like, namely, the one we just talked about, like the traveling when you're on a planet. But he also talks about some other things in the video. It's a 37-minute video, so it's pretty long. But I watched it and didn't even realize it'd been 37 minutes. I was like so engaged with what he
Mm-hmm.
was saying, and a lot of the things I was agreeing with. Because he goes back and relates it to Fallout, and he relates it to some of the Elder Scrolls games and stuff like that. He even at one point, he's like, while Starfield maybe was, I'm paraphrasing, sort of, Starfield, not that the Bethesda game we expected, he did leave it with like, I know I've loved Bethesda games, so I'm still really hoping that like Elder Scrolls 6 hits it out of the park, because
Mm-hmm.
if Bethesda knocks that one out of the park, they could easily redeem themselves, and Starfield just becomes a game that they tried that just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll link that in the description when we put when this goes up. Highly recommend everyone go check that out because it really does talk about a lot of interesting points. But
Mm-hmm.
I still have not played it since October. It was the last time I played Starfield.
Yeah, it's a little over a month. About 2 months.
2 months. Almost 2 months, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I mean, honestly. But then I also tried switching over to Cyberpunk, and I haven't even played Cyberpunk in probably about a month. Which it's just one. I just haven't had as much time lately, especially with the holidays coming up. It's
Right.
a hectic time. But and then also I've been playing Ark with some buddies. We finally got our server up and running online. And which, speaking of that, they Wildcard is the publisher or the developer. I can't remember which one, but anyway, they released a roadmap for Ark going forward, and it's like 3 years long. So they're basically going to be releasing like 3 maps, 3 new maps a year. Not new maps, but 3 maps, existing maps that were in the original Arc.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, right now there's just 1 map, and then in March, I believe, they said they're going to release the next map. So basically, they're following the map release roadmap of the original game, and they're just scaling up all of these new maps in Unreal 5.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Is Arc 2 Electric Boogaloo still supposed to come out?
It was on the roadmap, but it did not have a date, but it was definitely put after 2025.
Gotcha. So they're really going all in right now on the remake.
And I think it's because they just need the money in order to even consider it. Like, honestly, I've been, browsing through the Arc subreddit, and the general consensus seems to be that Arc 2 is dead.
Huh.
Because they want, well, my gripe is, like, if they did everything that they wanted to do, they said they wanted to do with Arc 2, I wouldn't want to play it, honestly. They said they want to make it. Yeah, so like, okay, well, like 2 of the big sticky points for me personally, I love playing in first person on Arc.
Oh, okay.
They were going to make it a fixed third person view, so over the shoulder kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also wanted to give it a, as they call it, a Soulsborne style of combat.
Oh, okay.
So, for those that don't know, Soulsborne, just like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, from Software games have a very unique to them,
Hmm.
style of combat, and they wanted to, and the Arc developers wanted to kind of take something similar to that. And I'm not, I'm honestly not a fan, not a huge fan of Dark Souls games or
Yeah, like
Bloodborne.
Elden
I
Ring or
mean,
anything.
yeah, Elden Ring. I tried Elden Ring, and I couldn't
It's
really get into it.
I tried Dark Souls, like the remaster or whatever. I think I have it in my Steam library, and it's just like it's just too hard for me, man. Like I
Yeah,
just like
it's more
I don't have the
difficult than I really
patience.
want to in a video game.
Yeah, right. Um.
So,
So I was gonna brought up a point that isn't the combat right now in Arc very like reminiscent of, I don't know about the remaster because I only ever played the original one, not very long, but I played it a little bit. But the combat felt very like Morrowind esque to me.
mhm.
It's like you walk up and you're just like slashing and doing damage or like shooting because there's
Yeah,
guns too, right?
basically.
But it's like so it's kind of
There's
like Elder Scrolls esque Fallout and Morrowind a little bit.
it's there's not a lot to it. It's nothing fancy. It's just
Yeah.
literally walk up. If you don't have a gun, you have an axe. You just walk up and you just
Whack, whack, whack,
hit.
whack. Yep.
Um, and then yeah, same with firearms. You just shoot as you reload, shoot, reload, shoot, reload,
Hmm.
shoot, and you're like backpedaling this whole time.
Oh, yeah. Because it's like, yeah.
You're being
Right.
chased by dinosaurs,
Right.
but and of course also one of the bigger issues right now is optimization for graphics
Yeah.
with Arc. Uh, me so I can thankfully run it very well at a high level, and it looks great. Not perfect, but I think it looks much better than the original Arc did. But unfortunately, I have a buddy who is playing with us on our server, and he's running it on the lowest settings possible. He's basically at the minimum required, and it's a completely different experience for him because just like half the
Slow,
stuff that
buggy.
yeah, and it's like he doesn't even like see like some like the amount of like grass that I have. Like I see.
Yeah.
It's like we're seeing a completely different, almost as a completely different game. Like he sees the basic bare bones of the landscape, but
He's playing Arc, the original. You're playing the remaster.
Yeah, basically. So I feel bad because it's like he upgraded to be able to do that.
Yeah, he upgraded to see nothing still.
Yeah,
That's
so
frustrating.
Like, I'm hoping it gets better over time. Maybe I don't know. I'm not like I wish I knew more about video game like the stuff that goes into graphics optimization
Right.
and stuff like that. But it works for me.
Yeah. Therefore, it's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of remakes, I think we can probably wrap it up with this little tidbit. You were telling me about a little bit of speculation. Is that the word?
Yeah. So there's really not a whole lot of substance to this. It's all rumors and speculation and words thrown. But so this year on Thanksgiving Day this year, which is hilarious, is the 25th anniversary of the Ocarina of Time being released. And Thanksgiving was its release in America. I think 2 days before was its like release in Japan. So it turned 25 this year. So I think because it was turning 25, the internet started talking about like, what if they made a remake of that game? For the Switch or the Switch 2, whatever the successor will be to the Switch. Yeah. So there's been a lot of talk of that, and the creator or one of the creators, I wish I still had the article up so I could. Yeah, Zelda Boss responds to Ocarina of Time remake rumors. So what's his name? I'm gonna butcher his name because I don't know how to pronounce. Aonuma talked about. He basically said like no comment, and then he just talked about the importance of Ocarina of Time in Zelda's development history, because that was the first three-dimensional Zelda that really set the stage for every game that came after it.
Right.
And so that was kind of what he talked about. And so it was kind of like, I think the way that he said, I don't know if the question was asked like, are you going to do a remake? And he was like, no comment. And so people are like, he didn't say no, which like technically, if you get rid of the word comment, he did say no. But, I'm definitely in the camp of like, I love this. I love speculating.
You want to believe.
I want to believe. Absolutely, I want to believe. Because if they were re-released that, I don't even know what that would look like, right? Like, that came out so long ago.
Tears of the Kingdom kind of style?
Yeah, or do you go like Wind Waker, which was a real big shift in everything, or you have like Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. It's like the original Ocarina of Time felt like they were trying to be on that more realistic side for the day, right? Like the Nintendo 64 camp, nothing is real. It's all polygons.
Right.
And then Wind Waker, they went cell shaded, that very, the Borderlands kind of like design choice. So I don't know what I would want, and I'm glad that I don't have to make that decision. I don't know what I would want a Ocarina of Time remake to look like. I'm going to say the only thing I would want would absolutely be a remake, because the only actual remake they've done was for the 3DS, which I don't own, and there's no other way to play that than to have a 3DS. So I'm stuck replaying it on, which I'm very grateful to be able to replay it at all in an official capacity on the Switch. But yeah, if they were to remake that game, that would be great. I don't really have any other words than that, other than I'm just not. I want to believe, but I'm not
getting your hopes up.
Not getting my hopes up, especially. And I kind of wanted to say this when we were talking about Starfield too. Like, we hyped that up. I mean, I say we hyped it up on this podcast, which is just us talking about our love for video games. So we were hyping it up to each other. We're just doing it in a way that other people can listen to us. I don't feel bad that we hyped it up, because we were genuinely excited for this game.
We were.
But I'm trying to temper my expectations for things more, because I feel like that was such a it didn't even pan out in a way that was like, oh, this is a little bit more disappointing than I would have hoped. It was kind of a lot more disappointing than I would have hoped. And so I've been trying to like, okay, new game's announced or whatever, and I'm like, all right, I think I'm gonna wait before I like really feel like.
And also part of that is like, I think part of the reason I was so hyped for Starfield is that I just didn't really have much else to play at the time,
Yeah.
So that was like, I was excited. And now if Starfield could come out now, I could wait, because it's like, I've got Cyberpunk, I've got Ark, I've got Overwatch, I've got these
Baldur's
other games
Gate.
that yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. I guess I something to just take my mind off of the feeling of like, I want to get out on the ground floor. And it's funny. I was talking with my buddy who is big into fighting games. Is that whenever you play whenever a fighting game comes out, you really have to get in on the ground floor. Like you have to like get into it like as soon as it releases, just so you can like keep up if you're going to play online.
Oh yeah.
Because people are going to get so much better than you. Like jumping into, say, Street Fighter 6 now versus like months ago when it first came out, you feel like you feel like you're playing catch up,
Yeah.
But thankfully, in a game like Starfield, you don't really have that. You don't have to worry about that. But I just thought it was funny how it's, depending on the genre of the game, can depend how it is affected at launch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
It is interesting because I know we were talking about this too with like game awards and like with the game awards being over and or Baldur's Gate 3 winning a
running
lot
away with it.
of absolutely it totally deserved every award it won. I'm surprised it didn't win more. Um, it is interesting to think that, like, say that was released, or if Starfield was released last year,
Hmm.
what would the consensus be? Because I'm trying to, I mean, I didn't do research for this, but like, what games were released last year, and would Starfield have trumped, like, been the best one based on games released last year?
Hmm.
And even like, because this year was pretty stacked between
Yeah, this
the
is
release
this
of
is a really good
Starfield,
year for video games in general.
yeah, Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom. Like, any of those games, although, like, having played Starfield, it would have had to have been a down year, I think, for video games for Starfield to win. But like,
Hmm.
Baldur's Gate 3 was going to win whenever it was released. Tears of the Kingdom would have won Game of the Year had it not been released this year against
Yeah,
Baldur's
and
Gate
then
3,
that
I think.
Alan Wake game.
Yeah, which, have you played any of those? Like the
I've
first one?
not. No,
I have no
unfortunately,
idea what
no.
it's about. I've heard of it. I've never played it, and apparently
Hmm.
it's really good.
Yeah, but isn't it only like exclusive to the was it the Epic Store?
Oh, was it? All right,
It
then
was,
no, I'm
I
not
can't
playing
remember
it.
if it was Epic or Origin, but it was like exclusive to like
Yeah,
one launcher, which kind of like dulled its hype,
yeah,
I guess.
because
Um,
the first one is on Steam. That came out in 2012. Wow.
yeah, it's been a minute. Um, but
Huh.
yeah, everything I've heard from it is that it's a fantastic story. I really can't say much more about it because I just don't know.
Yeah.
But everything I've heard about it was fantastic. So it might be worth something checking out.
Steam is telling me that this game is not relevant to any game I've ever played. So,
That's funny.
because like I was looking, it's like one of those is it, and I'm asking the audience because I know you haven't played it either, but is it based on these pictures of seeing of like the first one right now? Is
Hmm.
it similar to like a Resident Evil in the, not like you're fighting zombies, but like that play style where it's like investigative?
Like kind of detective
Yeah,
playthrough.
yeah,
That's my understanding
okay,
of how it plays. I'm not exactly sure what the because it's like what like if you tried to tell me it's like yeah we've got a game that's like Resident Evil except it doesn't have the zombies, I'd be like well that doesn't sound very interesting.
yeah.
So I'm curious what the antagonist of the game is.
Oh, right.
So
So this is the blurb. A dark presence stalks the small town of Bright Falls, pushing Alan Wake to the brink of sanity in his fight to unravel mystery and save his love. So
okay.
I don't know.
Like so it's just kind of
Does
maybe
that
like
help?
a investigative thriller
Yeah,
kind
it
of thing.
says like
But
action horror adventure thriller.
okay.
So, which, like, it does not sound like that's for me.
No,
But
same.
I
I'm
do
not.
know that that's a pretty popular type of game, and I mean, that's great. I love that it won because I think it really does give that genre a lot of merit. Um,
Hmm.
it's probably never going to be a game that I'm going to play,
Hmm.
but you know,
Yeah, and speaking just off that sentence you just said, that this has been a really good year for non live service games, kind of like
yes,
like just standalone stories, um just single player stories. Like people, I can't remember who it was, but that basically like people in like the video game industry were saying is like the future is live service always, you
yeah,
know online games that are like MMOs, shooters, just like there was no room for single player games, so like single player story games anymore. And this year has absolutely proven that wrong.
oh yeah,
um it is alive and well.
oh yeah.
And I'm hoping that this will kind of like this year, the success of this year will lead into. I mean, and then plus also you have well, to an extent, Grand Theft Auto coming out. The
which
story
is
itself,
kind of a
but
live service,
yeah,
like
I was
with
gonna say
online.
it kind of is if you factor in the online, but you can totally play the game as just a standalone single player
Mhm.
story.
Unless they do some crazy with this new one. But
Unless they do
yeah,
something, yeah, we do not know enough about it now. But going off of what 5 was,
yeah, I'd
yeah,
be really interested to see, because I know live service is the future, because that makes, no, I'm not going to put that in quotes, a lot of money. Like that's why they think it's the future.
can I
But
put exclamation points? It makes a
yeah,
lot of
like
money.
single, these are exclamation points. Uh, it makes them a lot of money, which is why they think it's the future, because that's what I always, that's what I, there's a lot of things that frustrate me about it, but it's like, they just see the money and they're going, we're going all in on this, instead of like, maybe let's try and develop something new that will make even more money and be good. Uh,
Mhm.
because like I'd be really interested to see like how much money a game like Baldur's Gate 3 makes in comparison to a live, like even like a B tier live service game. However you can rank, like not like a number, like the highest level of high, like live service game, like something that's like
Mhm.
middle of the road. I'm like genuinely curious. Like, do they compare in financials? Like, does that like weaker, lamer live service game still make more money than Baldur's Gate did because it's a standalone kind of
Mhm.
situation? Like, I don't know, and
Mhm. I
that
would
I
love to
think
see
will really
the.
dictate. It won't matter how good a Baldur's Gate does if even putting out like a generic, lame live service game makes more money than that. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Well, and that's also kind of like when we were talking about movies, is like,
Yeah.
look at Marvel. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I love Marvel movies, but if it's safer money wise to just keep rehashing these big blockbusters, action blockbusters and superhero movies, than it is to like take a chance on a unique story. Um, and I think the money kind of shows that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you don't get quite the um what's the word, just
Yeah.
you don't get the diversity in the of genres.
Yeah.
You just have these big action blockbusters, that's it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of, and again, I'm the target audience for that. I mean, I love a big action movie, a superhero movie. I'm totally down, but I do like seeing, one that keeps coming into mind is Knives Out. Have you seen Knives
No,
Out
but I've
with?
heard it's really
Oh,
good.
it's amazing. It's so refreshing. But it's just taking, like, getting a movie, uh, a studio. That's the word I was looking for. A
A
studio
movie
to like take a
maker.
chance on a kind of like a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
standalone, single player story kind of
yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's just always follow the money. If
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole reason microtransactions are still alive and well, is that they work.
Horse armor.
Horse armor. Thanks a
Never
lot, Todd
forget.
Howard.
Never forget. Yeah, everything is Todd Howard's fault.
Oh, that's
And
great.
on that note, we'll end the
Yeah, and on that note,
podcast.
let's end it on horse armor.
Yeah.
So yeah, so uh, E3's dead.
E3
Long
is
live
dead.
E3. But yeah, but there is still,
E3.
yeah, there is still Gamescom,
Yeah.
and
Tokyo Game
PAX.
Show's pretty big. Yeah, PAX too. Yeah, yeah,
PAX
yeah.
is still, so, which is funny because the ones that they actually let people into are the ones that are
Yeah, at
still
least for
going. So
now.
for now,
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens
well,
in the
yeah,
future.
but yeah. So, all right, everybody, that's where we're gonna wrap this thing up. And if you have any comments, go ahead, throw those in on the video. If you want to like and subscribe, support us, please do that. We appreciate it. We are the 8-Bit Upstarts. My name is Nate.
I'm Tommy.
Have a great rest of your day.